The poison vial tumbled from Sarah Wilkins' shaking hands, crashing onto the hardwood floor of the Double Oak Ranch house. In the doorway stood Ethan Harper, his blue eyes blazing with a storm of fury and betrayal that would scar him for life. "Tell me it's not true, Sarah." His voice broke like thunder over the Montana plains. "Tell me you didn't." But the truth loomed between them, thicker than the dust from Cattle Drive. 6 months of heated embraces, stolen moments, and vows whispered under starlit skies, all erected on the tomb of a slain husband. Sarah's chestnut hair spilled over her shoulders as she dropped to her knees, her cotton nightdress hugging the figure that had ignited his wildest desires. "Ethan, please hear me out." The wind whistled through the valley, bearing ghosts that belonged buried back in Chicago. On the frontier, a man's history could doom him, but a woman's? That could unravel everything. In November 1892, the Bitterroot Valley was locked in ice, with drifts piling high against the fences. Ethan Harper was unraveling, not from the brutal cold or the livestock freezing in the pastures, but from a solitude that gnawed at his soul like a coyote on bone. At 28, he commanded 1,200 head of cattle and 3,000 acres of prime Montana rangeland. But wealth rang hollow without someone to share the fire's warmth. For years since his pa fell in a skirmish at Pine Ridge, for years conversing only with grizzled ranch hands and the herd, for years without a woman's gentle hand. The trek into Hamilton took 3 hours through thigh-deep snow. Ethan's breath clouded as he hitched his stallion outside Wilkins Inn. He needed staples: beans, flour, bullets. What he didn't bargain for was her. Sarah Wilkins perched in the lobby like royalty amid outlaws, her navy wool gown accentuating a form built for temptation. Golden hair coiled up, exposing a neck that called for kisses, hazel eyes hiding depths like hidden gold veins. She was poring over a novel in a rough town where literacy was rarer than rain. "Ma'am." Ethan tipped his Stetson. She glanced up, and a spark jumped between them, not of acquaintance, but of raw yearning. "Sarah Wilkins, lately widowed," she said, her tone polished, hinting at big city roots, maybe Detroit or St. Louis. "I'm looking for work housekeeping, perhaps." The word widowed hit him like rot gut on empty guts. Here was a lady who knew grief, who might grasp his emptiness. "What sort of housekeeping?" His words emerged gruffly. A sly grin tugged her lips. "Meals, tidying, running a home. Whatever a gentleman requires." That whatever sent fire racing through his veins. This wasn't some naive homesteader's daughter. This was a woman versed in the world's shadows. "Winter's fierce at the ranch," Ethan warned. "Remote. Just me and my top hand. I'm no stranger to seclusion, Mr. Harper. Sometimes it's better than entanglements." Ida Wilkins bustled in with coffee, eyeing them with knowing smirks. By dawn, the town would buzz. The job, steady till spring, room, board, and $25 monthly. 30, she countered. He agreed without haggling, like a greenhorn at auction. "Start tonight, if you'll take me." Those words, husky and loaded, nearly undid him. Loading her valise into the wagon, he caught her Centroses mixed with something mysterious, intoxicating. It steadied his nerves as they jolted homeward, snow blanketing them in seclusion. Sarah sat near, her thigh brushing his with each rut. "You're not what I pictured," she murmured as they topped the ridge overlooking Double Oak. "What did you figure?" "Someone harder, more rooted." The spread sprawled below. Cabin, stables, pens all his through sweat and loss. Viewing it through her gaze, Ethan sensed its void like a wound. "I've been rooted too deep," he confessed. "Time for some shaking up." She eyed his jawline in the twilight. "Watch what you wish for, Ethan. Some shakes can shatter a man." You should have heeded that omen, spotted the edge in her voice. Instead, He fixated on her lips' curve, her skin's imagined silkiness. Grizzled Hank stepped from the bunkhouse as they arrived, his leathery face dubious. "This is the new help. Sarah Wilkins," Ethan introduced. "My foreman, Hank Dawson." Hank nodded warily. "Ma'am, I'll haul your gear." As they unpacked, Ethan noted her sparse belongings, so woman escaping, not relocating. But from what? Showing her quarters, the house transformed with her presence, alive and inviting. Sarah glided through, fingers grazing tables, walls like claiming territory. "It's sturdy," she sighed, "a true haven." The longing in her tone twisted his heart she'd been hunting home forever. At the stairs base, her gaze down, he felt fate's pull and peril. What had he welcomed in? Sarah Wilkins remade double oak from a bachelor's den into a sanctuary. Dinners became feasts, roast beef and savory gravy, cornbread that dissolved on the tongue, peach cobblers that had Hank near tears. She darned shirts with fine threads, sorted shelves like a general, and infused the air with polish and roses. But the subtle seductions torched Ethan's restraint. Her humming while churning butter, hips swaying rhythmically, bending for firewood, revealing lace-trimmed stockings, loosening her hair at dusk, combing golden locks framed in her doorway's glow. She knew her effect, wielded it like a lasso. Thanksgiving brought a gale that entombed the valley in hush. Ethan discovered Sarah in the den, nestled in his pa's armchair with a tome and bourbon, lamplight gilding her features. "Happy Thanksgiving," she toasted. He poured rye strong. "Not much festivity. I've endured worse. At least here I'm desired." Desired lingered like haze. Sarah set aside her book more fiction and pierced him with those hazel depths. "You're an enigma, Ethan Harper. Young buck with a spread like this, good-looking enough for any gal, yet holed up like a hermit." The rye scorched. "Maybe I'm choosy. Or scared." She stood gracefully, closing until he could tally freckles on her bridge, inhale that enigmatic perfume. "Scared of craving what you can't tame." Her palm pressed his chest, over his pounding heart. Ethan's air hitched. "I'm no wide-eyed miss who faints at flattery," Sarah breathed. "I'm a woman who claims what she craves." "And what's that?" Rather than reply, she kissed him gentle probe, turning fervent as he yielded, her tongue expert and bold. Ethan's barriers crumbled like dry earth. He drew her flush, savoring every swell through her gown. She tasted of bourbon and oaths, all he'd hungered for. Sarah withdrew, panting. "I ought to retire." "Ought to," he rasped. "But will you?" Her grin was wicked. "Depends on if you're bold enough to pursue." She sauntered off, hips teasing. Ethan endured 2 minutes before following. She waited by her window, clothed but hair unbound, moonlight rendering her ethereal. "Wondered if you'd show." "I shouldn't." "No." She turned, eyes aflame. "You shouldn't." She unfastened her dress deliberately, cloth pooling to unveil fullness that parched his throat. Heaving bosom, narrow waist, flaring hips, promising seasoned ecstasy. "Lord, Sarah." She advanced, nude against his garb, fingers attacking his buttons. "I've been so isolated," she murmured on his neck. "Don't leave me alone tonight." What ensued was blaze and Ryan frantic want. Ethan had known women's saloon, doves bartering flesh, but this transcended. Sarah offered herself as bounty, moaning at his caresses, directing his explorations, unveiling delights beyond fantasy. Afterward, entwined in her bed, her head on his chest. "Stay." He should have preserved decorum, retreated. Instead, he draped the blanket, cradling her. "Sarah," he ventured in the gloom, "what befell your husband?" She stiffened. "He passed consumption, that's it. A beat. What more?" But her timbre hinted at rehearsal. "Nothing, Ethan. Nothing." She eased, breath steadying, but he stared ceiling-ward, quelling the whisper. Secrets abound. Hers most of all. Winter clamped the bitter root, and Ethan plunged deeper into Sarah Wilkins' enchantment. She shifted to his chamber unspoken, bringing her rose essence and nocturnal murmurs. Ethan had never tasted such bliss. Days of toil, nights of fervor. She matched his ardor, proving a woman's fire rivaled any man's. Wed me, he declared one March dawn, observing her pinning her hair at his dresser. Her fingers halted. Ethan, I'm earnest. He enveloped her from rear. Come thaw. We'll fetch the traveling minister from Missoula. Make it legitimate. In a glass, her hazel orbs met his, vulnerability flashing then veiled. You don't know me from matrimony. I know plenty. His mouth grazed her earlobe's tender spot. You taste like nectar at sunrise. You gasp my name when I stroke you thus. You're the finest gift this ranch ever got. And if past truths alter your heart, Ethan spun her. Sarah, past be damned. Only our tomorrow. She smiled faintly. My naive, faithful Ethan. That noon, as Sarah pegged wash and sang a melody from her veiled history, Hank yanked Ethan aside. Boss, got a chat. To the shed, Hank's visage was stormy as blizzards. About your lady. Watch it, Hank. No, you watch. In town yesterday, grab and feed, jawed with Ida Wilkins. She's poked round Sarah's root sassed the doc bout poison signs, arsenic particular. Ethan's gut iced. Maybe fret-tin over vermin bait. Hank scowled. Ida wired her kin in Chicago, a cop. Inquired about a Thomas Wilkins keeled last fall. The chill invaded his ribs. What surfaced? Fella died abruptly. Wealthy trader, wed 12 years to a younger bride, no kids. Signs fit arsenic, but the widow bolted west for probes. Ethan gaped, brain whirling. You're saying murder. Saying guard yourself, son. She pops up, pretty as poison ivy and deadlier. Snares you swift, got you thinking with your britches stead of your noggin. Enough, but fragments aligned. Sarah's jitters at Eastern mail, sly queries on local badges, nightmare wakings yelling unfamiliar names. Where's she now? Hank pressed. Ethan eyed the cabin, smoke rising, linens fluttering where Sarah lingered, likely prepping another flawless supper, primed for tender welcomes. I can't credit it. Then disprove. Rifle her stuff, grill her straight. Ethan strode houseward, Hank's echo ringing, thinking with your britches. He located Sarah in the kitchen, apron dusted with meal as she shaped Roll's domestic ideal, all allure and poise. You're ahead, she beamed. Grub's not set for, gotta ask something. His pitch made her rigid. What? He scanned her face for lies, remorse, the reality he feared. How precisely did your husband perish, Sarah? Her cheeks paled. I said consumption. Did he writhe? Ethan, why did he writhe, Sarah? She placed the pin meticulously. Yes, from chest ailment. A hush. Then whisper soft, no. From arsenic. The admission slammed like a hoof. He recoiled, hand drifting to his holster. Christ, Sarah, let me clarify. You slew him. Yes. Her jaw set defiant in admission. I slew him. The room shrank, air stifling. This woman who'd graced his bed, breathed sweet pledges in shadows, who'd convinced him joy existed she was a slayer. What? Sarah's hands quivered as she doffed her apron. He was eroding me piecemeal with blows, torments, commands. 12 years of union, that was bondage. So you dosed him. I liberated myself. Ethan edged doorward, thoughts cyclone. How do I know you won't do me? Her features shattered. Because I love you, you idiot. For once in my wretched existence, I love. But love from a killer, was it love or venom disguised? Outdoors, the gale shrieked like banshees. The arsenic vial rested on the table like a primed revolver. Sarah had fetched it from her case unbidden, composed amid tears. "I retained it," she said softly. "Safeguard, if history hunted." Ethan fixated on the tiny container, so benign yet lethal. "I oughta hand you over." "You ought. Laws seek in you." "I know. You exploited me, betted me to hide." Sarah winced like slapped. "Initially, yes. But not later. Never later." Ethan recalled the months, her dawn chuckles, mending his hurts, turning his barren abode to Eden. Nights she soothed his terrors, affirming his worthiness. "If I release you," he uttered deliberately, "swear you'll never slay again?" "I vow. And if you remain—" She lifted her gaze, hope battling dread. "I'll devote every breath, proving I'm beyond my darkest deed." Outside, Hank waited with mounts ready for the marshal, for miles through drifts to town, for miles to surrender the woman who'd rescued him from the void. Ethan seized the vial. Sarah held steady as he approached the hearth and hurled it in. Glass burst, flames leaping blue and fatal. "Thomas Wilkins is gone," he declared. "Sarah Harper never was. To all, you arrived widowed, depart wedded." She slumped into him, weeping on his breast. Ethan clutched her, inhaling roses and mysteries and absolution's pledge. Some men found salvation in faith, others in a bottle or fortune or battle. Ethan Harper found his in a woman who'd killed for freedom. Beneath Montana's moon, odder salvations had bloomed. What do you think, should Ethan have turned Sarah in, or was forgiveness the right call? Drop your take in the comments below. Share if you side with justice or love, and why. Let's debate this one